Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by SBK, with myself, Kate Tracey, taking over in the hosting seat this week from Leonidas, who sadly but understandably has had to take a step back due to other work commitments. So we wish her all the luck in the world going forwards. But as I said, that does mean you have me taking over as presenter going forward. So hugely excited about this opportunity. And thank you so much to all of you for being so welcoming for me to the show. You'll be delighted here, though, that we have our usual GG Weekend Watch experts in the hot seat with Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount to guide you through a very busy weekend of racing. So without further ado, we had better get cracking on with our races from Newbury and Ayr and anywhere else across the weekend that the lads would like to take us through. So we will start with the 155 at Ayr. This is the listed Doonside Cup Stakes for 3-year-olds and over a mile too. And at the current time of recording, Juan Elcano heads the market. He's a pretty short price, and he certainly looks to set the form standard in this race. This is evidently a lot easier than his Group 1 Juddmonte International he faced last time out. So, Andrew, does the Royal Ascot winner deserve to be this shorter price?
Good question. The worry is that he's only won once from 10 starts since his record debut, and taking a short price by a horse with that sort of strike rate doesn't strike me as being ideal in terms of punting. So dropping back in grade is going to suit. So yeah, it's first running listed company since winning at Royal Ascot. He's going to go well, isn't he? But at the prices, I'd rather side with something at a juicier odds. There's a couple on the radar. One of them is Palavecino, who goes well when fresh. He's been off for a while since disappointing at Salisbury. That was a mile, which didn't suit. He got into a bit of a pace war that day. Ideal. When he's been off the track for 5 weeks or longer, he's had 9 runs, 3 wins and 3 places. So 14-1. If he doesn't get too much hassle on the front end, and we saw the pace was holding up on the round course at Ayr on Thursday, he could go well. And Makanah, who didn't appreciate the small field when blowing out at Haydock last time, a strong pace, bigger field, could see him go well. So I'll just split stakes between the pair, Makanah and Palavecino. If you wanted one from me, I'd just say small stakes each way, Palavecino.
Very, nice price about him as well. At the current time of recording, he's about 17-2. I love Makanah. I have a love-hate relationship with him because I can never seem to get him right unless it's at Goodwood. So tricky horse to weigh up. But Daryl, how do you take this race?
I agree with Andrew in terms of I thought Palavecino was perhaps the value in the race. I'm just so concerned every time he runs. He's so keen. And he just can't seem to settle. Brian Meehan must be pulling his hair out because he stuck the hood on. It just doesn't seem to work. Juan Elcano, 11-8 at the top of the market. I don't know whether that's going to look a gift of a price or it's going to, be too short.
It's going to be one way or another, isn't it, with him?
Yeah, I thought he was disappointing in the Juddmonte last time. I know it was a Group 1, but there were lots of horses in the race that didn't have ideal conditions, and he was one of the only ones that had everything spot on for him. I mean, the likes of Alan Kerr would like soft ground and further. Love's not the horse she was last year. Mo Hafef turned the form around with him from his previous start. Alcohol-free Max Sweeney didn't stay. I just thought the race could be pulled apart. So it was disappointing on the whole. So don't just look at it as a Group 1. He's dropping back in grade here. Time before at York, head second to Bangkok. I thought he was well positioned in a slowly run race. But look, if he bounces back to that Ascot form when winning the Wifton Stakes, he should take all the beating in here because there is absolutely no depth to this race whatsoever. He's had Yukon Glen and Palavecino in behind previously. I don't think Yukon Glen is a quick enough horse on good firm ground over 1.25 miles. He comes here off the back of the Ebor run. Juan Elcano should be winning this race. Would I back him at 11-8? No. But he's a selection. but he has to be the selection because I can't trust Makanah and I can't trust Palavecino. And I don't think Yukon Glen's a fast enough horse. Makanah's the interesting one, but again, he threw in a terrible run last time and he's become untrustworthy as well. So it's a tricky race for punters to kick off, but I thought Juan Elcano is probably the most likely winner, albeit 11-8 doesn't really interest me.
Yeah, so Juan Elcano most likely winner, but as you say, his price is short enough, but understandably so. So tricky betting heat to open, but hopefully it'll get better as we move on because the lads have got no excuses with our silver and gold Ayr Cups then later on to be finding us some value, hopefully further down. And funnily enough, we're moving on to the Ayr Silver Cup handicap, which is for 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. We potentially might get some pointers from the Bronze Cup today on the day of recording on the Friday, but it hasn't necessarily helped us finding out the draw bias and the pace bias than in previous years. So it's going to remain to be seen what the lads, how they take that race and if they think it has any relevance to the Saturday races. But at the current time recording, we have Blackrod as the market leader at 5-1. And this race for me, see, these are the kind of races I love to get involved with. So I have to give my own opinion in this race. Now, again, I was going back through the trends of the last few years, and in the Ayr Silver Cup, drawn centre to low, rated around 90, 3, 4 or 5-year-olds, ridden prominently, seems to be the way you want to go. So they would mostly favour Blackrod, Tinto, Shallow Hal and Uncle Jumbo. So I'm going to take a couple at either end of the market here, with Blackrod at the head of the market and Uncle Jumbo, who is a rank outsider, but I still think has a shot in this. Blackrod's the form horse, Uncle Jumbo, and the sheer hope that everything falls right for him, because he has everything in his favour, apart from the fact he seems to have completely gone off the rails. But that's just my take on the race. The more important take is yours, Daryl.
Yeah, a good race. A case can be made for literally every horse in this race, I think. Magical Spirit's interesting. He's been given the same draw in stall 4 as last year when winning the race. He looks like he's running back into form at just the right time for Kevin Ryan. So he's rightfully towards the head of the market. The one I'm going to stick with or side with is Strike Red. I just think this is a 3-year-old very much improving this season. I think Andy tipped him up last time when he won at Newcastle. I can't believe I didn't back him that day, because he was a huge eye catcher at Lingfield when things just didn't pan out right for him. I think straight tracks are definitely his bag. He is one of the most progressive 3-year-olds of the season in terms of handicaps. I think the Racing League has done him the world of good. They would love to see a Silver Cup winner come out of that competition. I thought he was still green a few starts back at Leicester when he was beaten by Night of Romance. And he's £10 worse off with Bergerac for a defeat at Pontefract. But I just think he's a completely different horse now. I think he's taken steps forward of every single run. I couldn't really see too many negatives with his chances. Under a £5 penalty, I think he's a pound wrong at the weights, but I think he's got a massive chance, really. It's at 16-1 for Richard Fahey.
Mm-hmm. He is hugely progressive, isn't he, that horse? So, yeah, totally see your case for Strike Red. Andrew, how about yourself? Please dissect the Ayr Silver Cup for us.
Yeah, I'm deserting Strike Red. I mean, the reason for putting him up last time was because it was a stiff track at Newcastle with an uphill finish. He's only ever won like Newcastle, Hamilton, Pontefract. When he has gone on easy courses, Doncaster, Musselburgh, Firth, etc., he's always bombed out. I know he's lightly raced and progressive, but that was just the concern for me to persuade me not to punt him. Magical Spirit last year when I thought the ground was going to be too quick for him. I mean, they're only forecast about 4 mil of rain at Ayr. They haven't watered because rain was forecast, and if they get that, I mean, that's the equivalent of watering anyway, isn't it? So it's not really going to make it sort of soft enough for the last year's winner, I don't think. Bergerac was one of 2 I was interested in. Since his racecourse debut, he's finished first or second in 7 of his 8 starts. The exception was when bombing out at Chester, a run that was too bad to be true, and he went missing for 7 months afterwards and came back gelded. So he'll go well for Kevin Ryan. And the other one was Royal Scimitar, second to Popmaster. Now, last time out at Ascot, I say he found only Popmaster too good. Popmaster's near the head of the betting for the Gold Cup later on. He's got the blinkers on for the first time. Still open to improvement as a sprinter. He did too much too soon at Newmarket at the time before in the listed race, the Hopeful Stakes. So, yeah, Royal Scimitar over Bergerac.
Very good. I know Royal Scimitar, again, he's another horse that I fear is going to be my cliff horse this season. So I've deserted him this time. So cue the blinkers having a positive effect and him going and bolting up in him and paying everyone back that stuck with him. So, yeah, very excited about this race. And it is wide open, understandably so, as it is in every renewal of the race. So we're moving on to the 305. This is the Firth of Clyde Fillies Stakes, the Group 3 for 2-year-olds over 6 furlongs. And for some reason, for no apparent reason, but I love this race. Every year I love this race, and I have no idea why, but I really look forward to it. I think it's because I get to say the Firth of Clyde in a Scottish accent every time it comes around, and I do a terrible
with apologies
impression.
to all our Scottish viewers.
I am so sorry for offending all of our Scottish viewers there. So yeah, there you go. Well, the accents will improve hopefully as we move forward. But no, really looking forward to this race. I find it fascinating that J Lines is sending Head Mistress across the Irish Sea for this race, because as we know, he rarely likes to travel his 2-year-olds. So it's usually a good indicator for one of his representatives. But I have to admit that I, along with many others, was seriously impressed with Hala Athmani on her debut start. So she might be the bigger price play I'd be interested in. But what about you, Andrew?
I'm going to side with Scott's Grace, who we saw in the...
who you slagged off the other week.
Well, exactly. Because Scott's Grace was near the head of the betting for that Group 3 Serenia Stakes at Kempton, having impressed at that track on her debut. But that race goes to horses with experience. And again, 50% or thereabouts of 6 furlong races at Kempton this year have been won by stalls 1 or 2. What happened? We had a horse who did about half a dozen, 5 runs, I think it was, Eve Lodge, who won from stall 1. And no, I didn't back her. But Scott's Grace blew the start, raced wide from a poor draw in stall 6 of 8, got trouble, met trouble, and was hampered. And I thought that was an eye-catching effort. So I'm happy for her to bounce back. She's drawn near the pace as well, which is probably going to come from the Kevin Ryan horse, Sadmar. I thought that one might have been flattered by making all from stall 1 at Chester last time out, although if she does get loose on the lead, 20-1, not a bad price. And the other one I thought could go well, Little Prayer, coming back from the wind operation. Progeny of Memas tend to improve with experience. You can back them all on their sort of 4th or subsequent start and make a good profit. And although she bombed out last time, so the subsequent wind up might see her run a good race. She's about 40-1. But Scott's Grace for me is the main pick.
I was going to say, so Scott's Grace at a slightly shorter price, but then a good mention for 2 at bigger prices there with Sadmar and Little Prayer, as you say, at a huge price on the back of that wind operation. Daryl, what do you make of this race?
I thought Scott's Grace would go very well, but I don't know. I just thought she was I liked the run at Kempton last time. I just felt like she's a very speedy horse, and I just wondered if going back to 5 furlongs down the line would be her bag. I quite like Head Mistress at the top of the market. I don't think the form marries up with quite a few of these, and the secondary form lines give the overall form a good look. I think this horse has been running over the wrong trip of 5 furlongs. I definitely think she's going to improve going up to 6. She's got an explosive turn of foot. What she does this little thing where she does a hop, skip, and then a jump, and then she kicks away. So when you're watching her, wait for the change of legs for her to kick on. I thought she was well on top at the line at the Curragh last time. I think it's very interesting that Joe Lyons brings her over, and I don't think this is that deep of a contest, to be quite honest. They've got a Chiefly Park entry for Head Mistress next week, but this is worth 22 grand, so this is a good spot for her. Time Figure married up really well with the 99 rated winner Strong Johnson on the card, only a fraction slower, and I think that puts her there or thereabouts to win this. So I thought 3-1 was a fair price.
So Head Mistress, the equine equivalent of a triple jumper there, of a hop, skip and jump. And as you say, very intrigued that J Lines is deciding to send her over for this contest. So yeah, Head Mistress at the head of market. Current time of recording about an 11-4 shot, but she does look fascinating in the Firth of Clyde stakes, the Group 3 there at the 305 at sorry, I can't help it. It was building up. I had to say it again. I couldn't stop. I was going to pass out if I didn't. Right, the 340. And equally easy race to be solving here. The Ayr Gold Cup, the feature itself, the heritage handicap for 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. Fascinating contest, as we'd expect. And again, I've just been going through the last few years, and middle to high draws have been the way that this race has been shaping. It's fascinating looking back through the Bronze Cup, the Bronze Cup, then the Silver Cup and the Gold Cup. And basically last year, it gave us no indicator to the other 2 races, because we had the Bronze Cup was won on the stand side, the Silver Cup was won on the far side, the Gold Cup was won down the centre. Two of those winners came from being held up. One was ridden prominently in the Silver. So it really is.
He used to be a really good guy, and you could just take the stall of the Silver Cup winner and just sort of like go a few either side of that and find the Gold Cup winner. That worked for several years, and then, as you said, recently it's gone out the window.
Yeah, it's all over the place in recent years, so it's wild. So don't let the Bronze or Silver Cup deter you from backing a horse because of a draw that goes against seemingly the trends favoured in the other two races prior to the Gold Cup itself. But in this race, at least in the last few years, the Gold Cup, middle type, 3, 4, or 5-year-olds, official rating 100, 101, they're sort of abouts. Ideally held up marginally, understandably so, because of the pace that they go in this race. We've seen that in the last few years. So for me, there was one horse I came down on, again, that fitted all of these trends. And that was, make sure he's still in the race, Edraak. Horse number 10 there. He's about a 20-1 shot at current time of recording. He's rated 100, has the addition of Theodore Ladd's £3 claim off his back. He's drawn in 20, hold-up performer. He's drawn with pace all around him. He's a 5-year-old. Hopefully he can get back to winning ways over his optimal trip after gaining 3-6 furlong wins in 2021. So for me, he has everything in his favour. But again, I'm coming to you here first, Daryl, to try and solve just as an easy puzzle here of the Ayr Gold Cup.
Well, I've got 3 on the short list, but I've got 2 I've backed quite decently. But I've got one that I've been looking forward to this race all week for, and that's been Ostilio. Now I've been on this Ostilio train for a little while, as you know. I've been calling for him to go up to 6 furlongs today. Could be that today's the day he goes up to 6 furlongs, and you would have thought that Paul Midgley would have had some sort of plan for him. I just thought a Yorkie wanted just a little bit further than that 5.5 furlongs. We're doing best from off the pace when it pays to be ridden prominently. The form of that race has worked out well. Copper Night, Hurricane Ival winning the Portland, etc. His RPRs are slowly rising. He's £14 lower in the handicap than when Paul Midgley picked him up. He was a massive eye catcher in the Beverley Bullet last time, coming from well off the pace, finishing very strongly against confirmed 100 plus horses. He's definitely got the back class to be involved. He's snuck in right at the bottom of the weights here, Ostilio. I just think that this race is just set up perfectly for him, and he's drawn right next to the likely pace angles in the race in stall 21. I think he's got a massive chance. The other one, who I want to be positive about is Summerghand. Since June 2020, in 6 furlong handicap, Summerghand's form figures read 2-2. 1-1-0, and the latest was 0 was when he was off 109 in the Stewards Cup, and he was a massive eye catcher. He put that right at Newmarket next time by beating Tabdeed, giving him £5, and then he goes to the Group 1 Sprint Cup, and he was only beaten 3 lengths and staying on really strongly at the finish. Now, his career form figures on fast ground have yielded 6 wins and 2 seconds from 15 starts. He's got a 33% stroke rate in handicaps on fast ground over 6 furlongs. Brando won this off a mark of 110. Don Juan Triumphant won this off a mark of 109. He gets a good £5 claimer in Sean Kiran today, effectively negotiating his penalty that he carries. So he only carries 9 stone 10. And he was staying on 4th in this in 2019. So he handles the track. He's drawn next to loads of the pace. Or the likely pace in like the likes of Just Frank. I think he's got a huge chance as well. I think they're both around 14s or 16s chances. They won't be that on the day, I don't think. I'm sure of it. Just Frank was the other one I do like. I think he's unexposed at the trip, progressive, and he could get a bit of a soft lead on the front end, really, because I couldn't find stacks of pace in this race. But yeah, I think in this particular Gold Cup, I think you're going to be drawn high. There's not a massive draw bias at Ayr anyway. I think like 7% of the winners that are drawn low at Ayr over 6 furlongs win to 6.6% of those drawn high. So I don't think there's a massive advantage, rather a pace bias rather than a draw advantage. But yeah, Ostilio, it could be Ostilio day today. And if it's not, then Summerghand hopefully to pick up the pieces.
It's 2 at nice prices anyway, and they're actually near each other in the market as well. Summerghand and Ostilio both at double figure prices comfortably. And as you say, if they're not going to be that price on the day, then now is a good time for you getting stuck into a pair of them. So Andrew, over to you. Please dissect the Ayr Gold Cup.
Yeah, this is my impression of Daryl following Ostilio off a cliff. No, he's made a brilliant case for Ostilio, and he's very, very persuasive, and I hope he runs a cracking race for him. And as you said, the pace angle is interesting. You've got Just Frank in 18, Mr. Wagyu in stall 16. Mr. Wagyu is a horse we know well, He's won 13 from 26 in June, July, 0 from 29 at other times. But he did run really well into the headwind in the Portland last week, finishing 6th and doing second best of the prominent races. So I wouldn't be totally dismissive of Mr. Wags use chances, particularly given John Quinn does so well at Ayr. I mean, you'd back all his runners here, blind, flat or jumps and make a profit. The others more interesting, I thought, was Great Ambassador. He's got Store One, which could be a bit of a tricky one. He did brilliantly in the Stewards Cup, winning the race on the far side from those drawn badly and finishing a close-up third. He's won twice since. Now, stablemate Potmaster as well has got the blinkers on for the first time. Now, I know his owner, Lawrence Spellman. I was chatting with him via the gift of the internet last night. He basically said Ryan Moore suggested they put the blinkers on. Now, he's worked well in them previously as well, and they didn't use them on the track before because they decided to geld them instead, thinking that might bring about more improvement. But if Potmaster improves for the blinkers, as he has done in his work, then he could go extremely well. But Lawrence did say he's worried about Great Ambassador because Great Ambassador works so well at home. He thinks he could be better than Starman. Now, he hasn't worked with Starman, Great Ambassador, but in their homework, just putting the two together, you'd think Great Ambassador apparently was the better horse. Now, I mean, we could have a future Group 1 horse here running in a handicap off 105, which is obviously the concern. And if you fancy him at 5-1, I certainly wouldn't put you off. Gulliver was another interesting one. He tends to peak in the autumn. He did really well to finish 4th at the Carroll last time when he was drawn on the wrong side. And the old boy, Mr. Lupton, bless him, he was 3rd last year. He's £1 lower. He likes flat tracks. He's won 3 times in September. Goes well at this time of year. And he's got the cheek pieces on, which is a positive angle for Richard Fahey horses on turf, plus 62 quid to a pound since 2010. And Volatile Analyst completes the long short list. Loves it here at Ayr. 2 from 2 over course and distance. Dropping back in trip now after being campaigned over 7 furlongs and a mile. So too many to sort of be confident in the race. So I'm just going to go with the biggest price one, which is Volatile Analyst each way round about 40-1.
Perfect. So Volatile Analyst, the main selection, as you say, from the long short list there. It's 33-1 thereabouts. So big price, course and distance winner, and looks positive. That's a big statement for Great Ambassador. The fact that they think that he could be as good as Starman.
Well, so yeah, I mean this is one of Ed Walker's owners, Lawrence Bellman, who owns Potmaster, who likes the chance of his horse, but genuinely fears Great Ambassador and fears he could be a Group 1 horse in a handicap.
Yeah. And just a question on Potmaster, putting the blinkers on him. How do you feel about that when a horse has won pretty well last time out, that he's then getting the addition of headgear?
Yeah, what's interesting is that there are certain jockeys who, when they ride a horse without headgear, that then rocks up in first time, cheek pieces, blinkers, visor, whatever, next time. They do really well. One of those is William Buick, and I run the stats for Ryan Moore as well. He's got basically anything Ryan Moore wears, rides, and then rocks up in headgear next time, whoever's on it, does really well, shows a huge profit. So, obviously with top jockeys like that, where they come back with advice, saying, you need to put blinkers on this horse, then you've got to sit up and take notice. So, normally you'd think it would be a bad thing. If it ain't broke, why fix it? You've won well at Ascot without the headgear, why put it on? But the stats say it might actually be a good thing to do.
And positive feedback from a top jockey, as you say, you're going to have to take that on board then. But main selection, Volatile Analyst for Andrew. And sorry, Daryl, just to summarise again, who was your main selection?
I'm putting 2 up, Ostilio and Summerghand.
That's the 2. Perfect. Thank you very much. Hopefully from the horses we mentioned, we found you the winner somewhere along the way then in that. But as I say, hugely competitive and a good case is made for plenty of horses there. Moving on to the 415er there. This is a 0 to 100 handicap for 3-year-olds and over a mile. And this race, to my eye, looks a wide open contest. Some really likeable runners we know an awful lot about, with gutsy York winner Cruyff Turn currently heading the market, and at a track that I think will likely play to his strength as well. But is he worth taking on, Andrew?
Bit of a nightmare race this, no strong opinion. As I said, there's a lot of pace in the race, so you could get taken on at the head of affairs, Cruyff Turn. But then we see it time and time again at Ayr on the round course. There looks to be a lot of pace, but yet the front runners stay there. We saw that on Thursday. So couldn't put you off. Wouldn't want to back anything in the race. I'll put Challet up as as a tentative sort of place pot each way pick. Races very freely, but the strong pace will suit. So Challet each way, but only if you found £1 on the floor, put 50p each way on. Don't dig into your own pocket.
Or place spot, as you say. Yep, but double figure price and again for Challet in a wide open contest. Daryl, do you think that this is easier to solve?
No, because I'm not very good at judging horses when they get. I'm pretty good at getting horses up to a mark of 100, and then I'm not very good at judging a horse when they're on those marks of between like 97 and 100, because you're sort of looking for horses then that are going to step into listed company almost, or to be winning handicaps off marks of 100. Is Dance Fever going to be stepping into listed company anytime soon? I don't know. I don't back horses off marks of 100. I thought the most interesting run in the race was Hong Kong Harry for Richard Fahey, who I was a little disappointed with last time in the racing league at Lingfield. But his jockey Ella McCain just couldn't get organised on him that time. They was going quite a stop-start gallop, and I didn't think it suited him at all. He looked like he was going to drop out the back of the telly, but he stuck on really nicely at the finish. He's 2 for 2 here at Ayr. He's improving. Fahey loves him, the way he's spoken about him in numerous interviews. And he's been really impressive other than that run last time at Lingfield. But that did come off the back of a short break. So I don't know if there was a slight issue, because when he was he was due to run a few times. They pulled him out a couple of times in the racing league. So I remember sitting there every week thinking, when's he going to be entered? When's he going to be bloody entered? Because I want to back him off 87. He's off the same market. I think he's one of the better handicapped horses in the race. I think Cruyff Turn could still be improving, but it's not a race to get heavily involved in. If you want a couple of quid each way, I'd suggest Hong Kong Harry. Yeah,
and it has been interesting, hasn't it, to see how runners from the racing league have then gone on to perform since then, because as we know, for all that it was a Class 3 handicap, I mean, those races were so hugely competitive, and finishing behind Bill Healy wasn't any disgrace whatsoever. So moving into this 0 to 100 Class 2, I don't think actually is that much of a step up for him. So as you say, off the same mark, he does look very interesting.
Yeah, the slight concern with him would be that he's not really been in a well-run race until last time, and whether or not he just couldn't handle the sheer pace of the race, I don't know. So he wouldn't be an overly confident bet, but because of the amount of pace on in this race. But if it was me, I would want to drop him out and just let him do things in his own time and come home quite strongly. He's open to improvement over a mile. He's definitely got talent, but it remains to be seen. This race is just very, very tricky, I think.
Yeah, very tricky. So a few selections for you there, but as I say, it is wide open, that contest. I thought it myself, it was a nightmare to assess. Now I'm going to quickly open it up to anything else at Ayr. It feels like we've covered pretty much every race, but for the pair of you, do you have anything else you'd like to mention at Ayr at all? Any other bets?
No, not for me.
Daryl?
I've got a little bit more work to do on the race, but I'm quite keen on Redarna in the 450. I thought Redarna ran a blinding race at Carlisle last time over a trip that's too far. Coming back to Ayr over 7 furlongs, it's just absolute optimal conditions, and is on a fair mark of 90. Bolted up, I think, was it in this race last year, or was it? It was around this time last year. It might have been on the Friday. I think Redarna's got a bit more to come still. Always running it, not a bit more to come in 7-year-old, but look, it's running into form. So very interesting in the 450 Redarna.
Yeah, spot on. As you say, that race that she bolted up in last year was, another Class 3 handicap over 7 furlongs, different sponsor, but I'm assuming it's the same race at least anyway. So yeah, Redarna, but as I say, if anything changes or when you've looked at the race a bit more, so we'll update it on the website or on Daryl's social media, so you can get his verdict if he's confident behind Redarna then in the 450 at Ayr. So we will move on to Newbury. We've got a few races to cover. Thursday, busy weekend of racing. So we'll leave that to one side for now and move on to Newbury. And we're going to start with the 250. This is the Group 3 World Trophy Stakes for 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but I thought that Cardem at the head of the market at the time of recording looked a favourite to take on at his current price, considering how the likable runners are in this race. And I thought that Cardem really should have been winning the Scarborough Stakes in the manner that he did last time out. But I think this is actually tougher for him. But what do you think about this race, Daryl?
I think there's a really good bet in here. I think Cardem was probably I think he won as he should have done, really, in the Scarborough Stakes, first time over 5 furlongs. But I thought it was a messy race in behind. I thought the likes of Tarbouche couldn't get no cover. They split into 2 groups. I thought he just kept it simple. But I think, this is a lot tougher for him. I think King's Lynn is the one to be on in here. I think King's Lynn deserves to get his head in front. He's running the Hackwood when we last saw him 63 days ago. I felt was just the knock-on effect, really, from 2 hard races at Royal Ascot, running within 4 days. I mean, he would have gone very close in the King's Stand in the first of those, beating 3 lengths by Oxted, and then to run in the Cambridgeshire on soft in the Wokingham on soft ground just a couple of days, 4 days later, and run a remarkable race to be beaten 3/4 of a length by Rohan. I thought was a belting run. So I just thought he might have been a little bit over the top at Newbury in the Hackwood. That's probably the reason why he disappointed there. I like the fact that they've given him the time off, the 63-day break. He returns to Newbury, where he's run really well before. The ground good to soft is absolutely spot on for him. I think he's better than these horses in this race. Cardem obviously could still be anything. I mean, he comes under that bracket of, he promised so much winning the Stewards Cup off 107 or 9, whatever it was, and he just hasn't really delivered. This might well be his trip, but I do think he wants fast ground, and any cut in the ground is going to be against him. I thought there was enough pace in here. I thought Cardem would go forward. I thought Atlas Bay would go forward. I thought Tis Marvellous would be pretty prominent. I just felt that this race would set up really nicely for King's Lynn, and he can get his head in front, and duly deserved as well.
Perfect. So King's Lynn at about 41 to shots at the current time of recording for the all-conquering Andrew Balding Yard. Look, good bet in this race. Andrew, are you willing to take on the favourite as well here?
I'm willing to take on King's Lynn. 4 to 1 about a horse who's won once from his last 9 starts. I think he's a bookie's friend.
You're very feisty today, Andrew, I must say.
He is, isn't he?
He is. Go ahead on it.
Christ.
Yeah, but there's, Cardem, he's a quirky old so-and-so. I mean, when he won here in May 2019, they were talking, he beat Oxted, didn't he? And they were talking about the Haydock Park Sprint Cup, and he's just not really realised his potential since then. Wouldn't surprise me if he won again, but at the same time, I don't really want to back him at 100 to 30. I mean, Hurricane Ivor's done brilliantly since joining William Haggas. He won the Portland last week. You could argue flattered by coming off the pace on a headwind affected track, but coming back in trip, a slight worry. His trainer says he needs a stiff 5 or an easy 6, but with a strong pace, likely as Daryl said, and with the ground on the easy side, Hurricane Ivor will probably go well again. But I'm just going to side with Makanah. Good speed figures, like smallish fields, goes well with a bit of cut in the ground. Only just chinned at Musselburgh last time. Has come back from a wind operation, 25 to 1. Again, it's a sort of a bit of a sort of pin sticking kind of race for me. I think most of these have got some chance, and I'll just.
He loves Musselburgh though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean
that was my issue with him.
Well there, but he's got plenty of form elsewhere at other sort of easy tracks, and it just thought at the price it was worth a stab at 25 to 1, but it wouldn't be a confident selection, as you can probably tell.
No, but
happy to slag mine off though.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm here.
I'll back away every other horse and then give you a tentative selection. Perfect. At least it's a tentative selection at a big price though anyway. So yes, so Makanah at around 25 to 1. And you're a fan of the first start after a wind operation angle today, I feel. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, especially in softened conditions as well that we're likely to get at Newbury. So it's a very tricky race out World Trophy Stakes to assess, but at least we're all taking on the favourite at the head of the market to hopefully find you some more value. Now, moving on to the next race, the 250 at Newbury. This is the Group 3 Legacy Cup Stakes, again for 3-year-olds and over a mile 3. Now, a proper character of the season heads the market currently. That horse being Alazi, who has lost an item or 2 since we last saw him. But since his cruelest cut of all, is that going to be enough to get Alazi's head back in front, Andrew?
Yeah, interesting race this. Small field, probably one front runner in Solid Stone. Looking at the pace maps, probably the most likely one. I could see him running well again. And Ilarab, first time cheap pieces. Very positive angle for William Haggas when he sticks that headgear on the horse for roller. Ad Infinitum wasn't out of it as well. Massive price. Golden Horn progeny tend to improve for going a trip from sort of August onwards in their 3-year-old season. And the last time he came back after a break on ground with cutting it, he won at Goodwood. You can forgive that subsequent Ascot defeat. So it was a messy race. And if Al-Azi won, it wouldn't surprise you. But at the same time, 11-10 in a small field tactical affair, not for me. I'll go Solid Stone, just in the hope that he's allowed to dictate. And he does go well in small fields as well. So he surprised me by running so well at Royal Ascot in a big field that time. And he'll do for me. But it's a messy old race, this one.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, Daryl, is that how you assess this race?
Pretty much exactly, yeah. Al-Azi's well clear here on ratings, but you have to have a slight question mark of him coming here off the back of a gelding operation. His form is absolutely rock solid. I mean, that next second to par driver in the Coronation Cup is rock solid, really. And then he runs against Sir Ron Priestley. I don't think Newmarket really suited him there either. So I do think he is the class act in the field. You've got to. There are a couple of questions for me. The gelding operation, I know he's a bit quirky, but he's done nothing wrong really to suggest a gelding operation was needed. And the fact that William Haggis runs Ilarab in here as well. It's not often that you see two Haggis horses taking each other on in a small field. I don't know what Haggis's stroke rate is like after on the back of a gelding operation on turf. I know it's around 37.5%, something like that. On your weather, so
roundabout.
Yeah,
around about that exact figure. Yeah,
around about that.
I can look that up now if you like.
Yeah, it might be a bit. It might be like 37.43 or something like that. I think it's definitely around there. But that would be interesting. I came down on Solid Stone. I just thought if you, I'm not going to take him on personally, but I thought if you wanted to take him on, I thought Solid Stone was a rock solid option. I think he's going to improve for the step up and trip, given his run style the last few times. I don't think he's quite quick enough for a mile and a quarter. I don't think he's quick enough for a mile. So I think he's open to improvement, stepping up and trip. I think he's a half brother to a Ribblesdale second, so it's in the family. And I thought if Al-Azi underperforms, because I do think he'll have to underperform for any of these to win this. I thought Solid Stone would be the one.
Yeah, Haggis first time gelded 31 from 110 since the start of 2016, so going back just over 5 years, 28.2% strike rate, small loss at SP back in the blind. But if you'd taken the best price with the bookies the night before, you would have made a profit of about 17% on turnover. So
it's just with that rating of 120. How much are you expecting him to improve for a gelding operation? I know he's won here twice in a canter almost, hasn't he? Beating some decent horses. So he clearly loves Newbury, and he's probably the most likely winner. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know if something's happened at home and he's being boisterous and he's getting. I don't know. He's getting worse, and they've been forced to geld him. I don't know. Normally it happens to bring out further improvement in a horse, doesn't it? So or to change the temperament, and maybe he's very temperamental at home.
That was my opinion with this race as well, because Al-Azi, we know that beforehand in the preliminaries, he is a bit of a character and sometimes he's had to go down early and he is sort of a bit boisterous beforehand and things. But I actually don't think he's done that much wrong. There's certainly not a pile driver in here. And I know that some people are cribbing whether or not he actually wants to get his head in front and potentially he's a bridle horse and he's got all these quirks. Personally, I really didn't think that. I haven't really doubted his attitude in his races whatsoever. So I thought he ran a cracker in the Coronation Cup. And last time out of Ron Priestley, I still thought that was a really solid run. So depends on how you look at him. He divides opinion, this horse, and he provides lots of entertainment. So it will be interesting to see if the gelding operation does eke out an extra bit of improvement and potentially finds more off the bridle. But I think that's probably doing the horse a disservice to be saying that about him. So yeah, the race, it does look Al-Azi's to lose, but at least the lads are in agreement there about Solid Stone if you were to take him on with the horse at a bigger price. The 325 at Newbury, 0 to 105 handicap for 3-year-olds and over a mile 2. So another fascinating contest where it looks the battle of the unexposed versus the battle hardened, really, the older brigade. But which side are you coming down on, Daryl?
I'm going to side with King Leonidas, Leonidas, however you say, for John Daisy Gosden. I don't think the handicap form for King of Clubs and Aramaic, Moasis, Christ, horses and names are hard to say it. But But I don't think that the handicap form is all that strong. I know the Gosden horse comes up here off the back of 457-day layoff, but Gosden is actually 1 for 2 with horses after 400 days off the track or more. And the winner actually was on this card on the Friday last year, and it was Humanitarian, ridden by James Doyle. So very interesting that marries up with James Doyle here on for Gosden. They thought enough of him as a 3-year-old to throw him into the Jersey, despite being on soft ground. He needs a faster surface, so I'm hoping the ground is going to dry up for him. Like I say, I wouldn't normally back a horse off this sort of layout, but I really did like him in his couple of runs. I thought he had group potential easily. So the fact that Gosden can ready one out after such a long layoff is a big positive if you want to back him. And I think he could be the class horse in the race. So that's the way I'm looking at this. I think I'm going to all of these are handicappers in here. And I think King Leonidas could be a group horse. And it's interesting that they persisted with him as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. And so Daryl is siding with the unexposed angle in this handicap. Andrew, where do you come down in this race?
Yeah, one of those two I was interested in. One of those was Measure, who bounced back from Challet for the time, probably underrated by Domestic coming here off an all-weather run. King of Clubs clocked really bad time according to race form when narrowly landed a down handicap last time. But the one I'm going to go with is Injazati for Charlie Fellows, who's probably the pace angle in the race. And I was really impressed with his Newcastle win last time out. I know it's a small field, but it was the round course and he made all the running. And history tells us that horse that can do that in Newcastle is worth following and is probably well ahead of the handicapper. He's gone up £6 for that, which is fair enough, but I think there could be more to come from him back on turf. He won at Nottingham the time before, bidding for a hat-trick here. So 7-1 Injazati.
Perfect. We got most of that. Your signal just went off a little bit as you started, but at least we got there with the main selection, at least anyway, with Injazati, who's a nice price to be bringing up the hat-trick in this contest. So again, for the 3-year-olds, so the lads are siding with the lesser exposed runners in that handicap, which is normally a good way to go in this type of a contest. Now, our final race that we're going to talk about, that we've at least got structured into our running order, is the 4 o'clock at Newbury. This is the Newbury Stakes, which is 2-year-olds own 6 furlongs. And I think on the face of it, this year's Newbury may not look obviously stand out, but there are some seriously significant form lines in here, and which could shape the rest of the season for these 2-year-olds and for the runners that we have here and the runners who aren't, but have intertwining form lines with some of these. None more so than market leader Dabab, who finished third behind seriously impressive Vincent O'Brien National Stakes winner Native Trail. So is that superlative stakes third for Dabab a form you want to keep on side, Andrew?
Yeah, certainly. Couldn't dismiss Dabab winning this, but at the prices, I was just going to look at outside the sort of front two of the market. Giza Sub was the one I was interested in. Nice low draw, prominent style, down the middle at Newbury is what we normally want, and runner up to Lusail at York last time. So I'll go Giza Sub for Kevin Ryan. Hopefully make all. Yeah, I couldn't really rule out Gubbass side, so that would probably be the second selection in the race. Another son of Memas who impressed me. He won on his debut and start because they do tend to take time before they get going. So yeah, Giza Sub and Gubbass, all the G's, reverse forecast. G.
It's actually, isn't it? The GG.CO.UK that you should go
Exactly.
to 2 G's in here. Nicely done, nicely intertwined there, Mr. Mount.
You've uncovered my Da Vinci Code method of my selections now. That's how I work.
All those trends and stats out the window. We're just going for we're just going for initials from now on. Exactly. Daryl, what initials do you want to side with here?
G. Gubbass for me. I can't believe he's a 5-1 shot and Dabab is a 2-1 shot. I think it should be the other way round. I thought Gubbass was a massive eye catcher in the pre-morning last time behind Perfect Power. Didn't really get the sort of run he was looking for on 2 occasions. That form with asymmetric as well the time before at Goodwood, I think is rock solid. Perfect Power was in behind. Obviously, didn't get a clear run that day, but Ebro River was in there, went out and won the group race. I thought that was the form line to take. I think he's improving quite significantly, and I think he's a proper sprinter. Whereas I'm not entirely sure that Dabab is. I think we might see the best of him when he goes up in trip. I know he didn't quite see out 7 furlongs last time in the Superlative, but I just think they were just better horses and stronger stayers that picked him up in the Superlative. I know he was sort of on the wrong side of the track. You can make all these little excuses, but I don't think he's reached the level that Gubbass has just yet. And Gubbass is a course winner here, winning the Super Sprint in good fashion. I think he's taken big steps forwards in every single run. While we're on the Formula 2-year-olds, can you believe Native Trail got given an RPR of 122 for winning that national stakes?
I didn't actually know that.
100. To
Wow.
be fair, right, he's beaten Point Lonsdale, who are tall to bits last week anyway, and his form is no good. And he's beaten a non-stayer in third, but 122. I think they're going well over the top with some of these 2-year-olds this year. I really do.
You said
But
this
I thought,
before, yeah, about these 2-year-olds and sort of the inflated marks that they're given, and exactly.
well, I said this. Yeah, I said this last week about Point Lonsdale and about Reach for the Moon. They both got beat, and like Reach for the Moon, they finished in a bunch with Twilight Jet in there. Like, people are going to turn around and tell you, "Oh, he didn't run his race there," or he didn't. There was absolutely no excuses for any of them. They've just rating these horses up so quickly because they're running in these big races like the National Stakes, like the Superlative, because we're used to having a good Group 1 winner of that race. But I just don't think this season it's been that strong. I think the likes of Native Trail is going to improve when he goes up in trip, not over 7 furlongs. We'll probably look back at Native Trail and think, guys, how is he winning over 7 furlongs? And I just think they're so quickly to give these. I think form is so important for 2-year-olds. Like, it's important anyway, but at this stage for 2-year-olds, I think it's so important. And for me personally, I think that Gubbass in this race has got by far the strongest piece of form with that Pre-Morny 4th, beating 2 lengths. There is just one to quickly mention. I have backed him at 33-1. I don't know if he's got any sort of chance, but this Malayu Kingdom for Kevin Ryan is a very interesting horse. Really impressive on debut in a maiden at Thirsk, and then was 6 lengths behind Flotas last time at Ripon in the 2-year-old trophy, but was about 6 or 7 lengths off the back of the field after the first furlong, and just picked up really eye-catchingly well and stayed on really strongly. I think this horse might be seen to best fit when they go up and trip, but Malayu Kingdom is one to stick in the track and just to keep on side.
Yeah, so Malayu Kingdom, just as you say, to keep on side, one for track and know how he goes here. But both taking on the market leader, Dabab, with Gubbass and gives a sub then for Andrew as well. So GGG, it's very apt and very well done for sticking to GG.CO.UK here with your selections and promoting that anyway. But fascinating with the 2-year-old form lines and exactly which form lines to be taking forward and exactly how we weight your form up. So very interesting takes there. Now, anything else from Newbury or anywhere else for either of you two? So, Andrew, start with you. Anything from anywhere else across the weekend?
Just one worth a small mention in the group race at Garum Park, the 4:30, Emania for Dermot Weld. Big eye catcher, doing best of those to come from off the pavement, 3rd on a penultimate start. She's then gone to the Curragh, and she's raced on the front end when you wanted to be off the pace this time. The winner in the second had come from well back. I thought she did pretty well, finished 6th, being about 3 lengths. Ocean Orr's ridden the last twice. Colin Keane's back on board today, so probably be a double figure price as well. Emania at 4:30.
Yeah, Emania, horse number 13 there in the 4:30 at Gorham Park. And for Daryl, yourself?
No, nothing for me. I haven't done the rest of the cards yet, so I do apologise for that. But hopefully, there's a few winners in the ones that we spoke about.
Yeah, no problem at all. I say, I think we've covered plenty. I think you can get off. I don't think you have to apologise for that by any means. So I'm going to get your naps then before we wrap up. I'm going to throw mine into the ring and I'll go for the Ayr Gold Cup because why not go big or go home? And it is going to be Edraak in the 3:40 at Ayr for me. So Daryl, back to you. Your nap for the weekend, please.
King's Lynn.
Oh, very well. Just to spice Andrew. Very nice.
No. Let's go Ostilio.
Yeah.
Let's go Ostilio. Come on.
That again, better. Just to spice Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in the same race. We're all going in the Ayr Gold Cup. I'm going to go Volatile Analyst in that race.
I'm so happy we're all going for the Ayr Gold Cup, probably the trickiest race of the entire day, and we're all napping in it. So that is fantastic. So the battle of the Ayr Gold Cup, we'll see if the best man or woman comes out on top there. So yeah, so they are our naps for the weekend. They will all be posted on the website at GG.CO.UK, along with all of the cards. Any updates on tips, as we were saying earlier on, we need to see if when Daryl's looked further at the 450, if Redarna is going to come into play for him. But you can catch up with any of these selections then on the website. Again, a big thank you to our sponsor, SBK. Thank you to everyone for having me back in the hosting seat, and best of luck to all of you for all of your bets.